Oh, baby. Okay. So, StreamYard just let me know that I'm live. Now I just got to wait for YouTube to let you know that I'm live. And then we can get the podcast rolling. So, there it is. Okay, YouTube just sent out the notification. So, all of Vipe Nation now knows that we are live. So, tonight should be pretty fun. I've been trying to get my man Rene back on the podcast for a while, and tonight is the night. So, in a few minutes, we will be joined by the world's greatest Apple journalist, Mr. Rene Ritchie, and there's a lot of stuff going on in the Apple space right now. So, this should be a fun conversation. So, let me shut up, get into the intro, and bring him in here, and we can get this party started. Let me take a drink real quick, man. What's up, El Jefe, Scott, Steve, Gwendolyn, Bionic, Scoop? How y'all doing? I see y'all in the cut. I see y'all. What's up? She knows what's up. How y'all doing? All right. So, recently, there has been a lot of activity on the Apple front as it relates to releases, speculation about possible releases, iPhone 12 news, this, that, and the other. Even in the current time that we are living in with the pandemic running amok across the globe, Apple and Apple activity is at an all-time high. So I figure who better than to bring in the world's greatest Apple tech journalist tonight, Rene Ritchie. So in a few minutes, we're going to start this VypDrive episode 71, and Rene Ritchie is next. What's up, people? This your boy Viper, the man about tech, and welcome back to a special edition of VypDrive. This is the podcast about tech, hosted by the man about tech. And as I just alluded to in my introduction, I have the world's greatest Apple journalist on deck, Mr. Rene Ritchie. So let's bring him in, see what he's doing. How you doing, sir?
Good, man. It's good to see you again.
I know, long time no see, right? Long time no see. How's it going over there in the Great North?
Well, I mean, we're sheltered at home, and then it started flooding, and then it started snowing again. So I said on Twitter, I feel like whatever super dimensional teenage being is running this build in the simulator server is just a jerk. Like, stop pressing those buttons.
Seriously, like so many things going on at once. But you just mentioned that you are sheltered at home. So how are you holding up during this whole global pandemic thing?
I mean, I'm used to, I worked in an office for 10 years and then I worked at home for 10 years, but that was like, I could go out if I wanted to. Now I can't go out. And it's just such a mentally different thing. I feel like I'm relatively lucky in that I live alone, but I'm sure that there are, people who just aren't used to having their spouse and kids around all day, or pets that are like, why are you humans up in my house? I usually have this house to myself. What are you doing home? Go back to work.
Right. It's funny because like me and you were kind of used to working from home, but there's a lot of people that aren't used to this working from home situation, and they're just like they're losing their minds, man, for real.
Yeah. Just take an iPad, kid. Just take an iPad.
It's like y'all just catching up to what we've been doing for the past few years. Y'all catching up. Yeah. Welcome to the norm, baby. This is the norm. What you all do on a regular basis is not the norm. What we're doing now is the norm.
But I think we forget, like, I think that when you first start working at home, like you get out, like you don't get out of your pajamas for the while. It's like when you go to college and the teacher doesn't check your homework anymore for like the first few weeks, maybe the first term, you don't do your homework. And when you're working at home, you're like, yeah, I guess I'll do this meeting from the bathroom. I don't care. And then like eventually you have to relearn, like you learn good habits. You separate out your work area. You get like, you become professional at home. But these people, these poor fools were just dumped at home.
Yeah, we got people taking business meetings at home, half attired. They're dressing fully on the top, not so much on the bottom. You know how we do.
I was talking to Dalrymple before, and I'm like, how many bloggers you think are just walking naked into their kitchen to drink whiskey at 12 o'clock, forgetting that their whole family is home now?
Oh my God. Oh man, let's not think about that. Oh,
like
man.
What are you people doing? Oh yeah. Oh. This is not good for anybody.
Yeah, this is a different environment. You can't be walking around naked no more. You can't do that. You can't do that. But I want to talk about a recent change that you made in your life. Yeah. Like, I think it took all of us by surprise. Nobody saw it coming. But after 11 years of working with iMore, you have decided to go independent. So talk about the factors that led to you making that change, especially considering the uncertain times that we are in right now.
Yeah, I have the best timing. So honestly, I didn't think about it that way. I thought like it was a year after Future bought Mobile Nations, Future PLC, huge mega media company. They own a Nantech and Tom's Guide and Tom's Hardware and Laptop and Tech Radar and just game radar, so many, like hundreds of different websites and thousands of employees. And I'd done the corporate thing before, and I tried to do it again, but it's a different vibe. And I figured a year was a good amount of time. I was fairly solid. I'd saved up a little bit of money, so I'd have some runway. I wouldn't be desperate, the first day out of the job. And that was my plan. And I went, I told my boss, Crackberry Kevin, and my other boss, Marcus from Trio Central, which is just like, it's just amazing. I had bosses like that for so many years. And I went and told them, they're like, all right, that's fine. And then this whole thing happened. And they're like, oh, you do have bad timing.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, whew. But you're out there now. You're doing it. You're doing your own thing. So how does it feel, Rene, being an independent content creator now?
Yeah, so the only way I can describe it is like previously, in the beginning, we were all quasi-independent. Like we still worked for somebody, but they basically said, you have to run this site. Like we're not going to look at you day to day. Just treat it like it's your business. And I was blogging all day, every day. But then we got bigger and more structured, and we got like multiple sites, and then Future came along, and but it was still like a rocket ship. Like it helped propel you forward. You had to work your ass off, but it helped propel you forward. But at the same time, it was this weight on you because, like they never told me what I could or couldn't do, but I would always do what I thought was in best interest of the company. And that's just a different kind of content. It's some kind of content, and maybe I would do the same, maybe I do different, but it was always with them in mind. And for the first time now, I'm doing stuff with like what I think my audience would like most, and that's a subtle but a very profound shift for me.
Yeah, especially because you have chosen to, well, not really chosen, but you are starting all over.
Yes.
You now have a brand new channel on YouTube. You're already, I think it's only been up less than a week, and it's already up to 30,000 subscribers. So you're doing pretty well there, but you're starting all over. And you know how ruthless this YouTube algorithm can be. So how has that been for you, having a brand new channel starting from scratch? How has the algorithm and YouTube in general been treating you?
It's super scary because, like, I don't know. I'm not Roberto Blake by any stretch of the imagination. I'm like a raindrop in his giant ocean of YouTube knowledge. And it was really scary because I didn't know if anybody would subscribe. I didn't know if the algorithm would do anything. And in the beginning, it was very different. I'm used to most of my videos being like YouTube recommended. That's how people see them. They're in the browse tab. Very few were from subscribers. Very few were from external sources. The first video was just massive from Twitter. And I guess that makes sense because people like, whenever someone writes some personal news, Twitter's all over it. That's right. That's like chum in the water of Twitter. Everybody come, ooh, personal news. What's he going to be? The grand poobah of like Spaceball? I don't know. But so that really helped the first video. These ones, I'm getting some browse, some subscribe. It's a very different feeling. I don't know if it's going to settle into what Vector, my previous channel, was. But right now, it feels like every video is like one view unless I work really, really hard on it.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've been doing this dance for 3 years now, so I can tell you to keep your head up. I'm pretty sure you're doing well. You're already doing well, so you'll be all right. You just take time for the algorithm to adjust and things like that. But once you get your rhythm down and once you get a schedule set in place and things like that, everything will start to normalize out, and then you'll go from there. But I mean, on the flip side, though, you have like your timing is impeccable as it relates to when you decide to go independent. But as far as YouTube is concerned, this might have been the best timing for you to go independent because now more eyes than ever are on YouTube. So if you're gonna go starting on YouTube, now is the perfect time with more people on the platform than ever before.
Yeah, but I mean, to your point though, like the algorithm is just so ruthless. Like you and I both know people who are amazing and they have like 250,000 subscribers, maybe 1 million subscribers, and YouTube's like, we'll give you 2% views. Like there's just there's like no rhyme or reason to it sometimes. And it's like being under the feet of a really drunk giant. Like he's not trying to kill you, but he's stumbling around and you're just running between those feet trying to make sure he doesn't step on you. So it's interesting. It's interesting, but I'm hoping it works.
We'll make it work, man. We will make it work. I think if we learned nothing else from your very first video, we learned that you have the entire tech community behind you, backing you. So I think.
And thank you for joining me there, man. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you for the invitation, man. It was my honor. That was good. That was good stuff.
It was fun. I think it turned out okay. I was worried that there was too many, but I think it turned out okay.
The way you edited it up, that was pretty cool, man. Everybody just one after the other, like bam, bam, bam. Like, oh wow, this is pretty cool. Yeah, you're no problem. Your editing and shooting had grown leaps and bounds since you first started on YouTube, so you were getting it done.
It's desperation.
So when I first learned about you having a brand new channel and starting over, my first thought was, is he still going to cover primarily Apple news and Apple topics, or is he going to like branch out? So I know during your intros to your videos, you're saying that this is my channel. I mostly cover Apple and related tech and things like that. But are you still going to do what you were doing before you got the new channel? Are you going to mostly cover Apple, or are you going to branch out and cover other tech and do things differently?
I think, I'm comfortable with Apple. I know I got some really good advice from a friend of mine. And he said, for the first like month, just do what people expect from you. Like, I know one of the reasons you left is because you wanted to do other stuff, but if they see a similar like avatar, like it's going to be hard for people to find you because you're on a new channel, and YouTube doesn't always like if you search for Rene Ritchie, you still find Vector. So right. As much as I could do, like if I kept the background similar, if I kept me similar, at least people would land on the video and they go, oh, I recognize this. And it would give me a better chance at it. If I changed everything all at once, people land on it and go, I don't know what this is. Click, and bye-bye. So for the first like month or so, I'm going to stick really close to what I was doing previously. And then I don't know, YouTube hates it when you move out of your lane, but I hate it when I don't. So I think I'll try to balance that as best as I can.
Yeah. Trying to stay in a box, like you said, it's kind of hard, but yeah. YouTube does tend to punish you if you don't stay in one subject area, but I'm pretty sure you'll figure out a way to make it work. You're pretty good at that. Shout out to my man El Jefe for the super chat. Thank you very much, El Jefe. Greatly appreciate it. For those of you all watching live, if you do want to support the podcast, super chats are open. And but if you don't want YouTube taking 30% of your donation, you also have the option to buy me a coffee. That link is in the description, so you can do that. For those of y'all listening on audio only, if you wish to make a donation to the podcast or support, there will be links in the show notes for that. But back to my man Rene Ritchie, making the change, going completely independent. So what would you say is the biggest difference that you noticed so far from being associated with a known tech publication to being out on your own, being independent?
So honestly, I pretty much figured this because it was part of the reason why I was thinking about doing other things. Is there's no more meetings. Like I occasionally have like conference calls and things, but when I was not towards the end, because Al Sacco, formerly of CIO Magazine, he came on and he took over Windows Central, and then he took over a lot of the network stuff that I had been doing, and the meetings had grown and grown, and I didn't have as much time to do the content that I wanted to do. But there was just like every day there was like this meeting, that meeting, this meeting. And now I wake up and I'm like, 0 meetings, 0.
Man, as a person that still works in the corporate space, I can definitely know how you feel about the meetings. And I can do without all the meetings. I believe I'm
going to do an AirPod video, but first I've got to talk about corporate procurement, finance updates.
Right. So I have an interesting question for you. Now that you are independent, will you still have the same access to be able to get into Apple events like you had when you were back with the Tech Pub, or will it be a little bit harder for you to do that now?
So I don't know. And I never assume, like I've said before, it took me forever to get invited to Apple events. I used to go with Matthew Panzarino, who now runs TechCrunch, but he didn't back then. And we had to like buy tickets to WWDC, and we'd say, if you ever invite us, we'll work really hard, and we'll work harder than than anybody else working here. And they're like, yeah, that's nice. And eventually, we got into the events, and I got my first iPhone review, like my first embargoed iPhone review just last year. So it took me a really long time to work my way through there. And I don't know if this sets me back a little, but I always considered that like a privilege, because not a privilege, that's the wrong word for it. That was like a bonus. It was like an extra. It was my job to cover it as best as I can. And I did it for years, like 8 years. I covered it with almost no access. It's my job to cover it as best as I can, better than I can. And if I happen to go to the event, that's great, because I can ask them a lot of questions, and then I can see if what they tell me matches what I'm seeing with the actual stuff. But it's like a bonus thing. So I'm never going to take it for granted. I'm never going to expect it, but it'll be nice if it still happens.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you still have a lot of contacts at Apple. So I find it hard to believe that you won't be able to get in if you want to go. I'm pretty sure you'll have an invite.
But like everything changes. So like for a while, it was just, like, especially in Steve's time, it was just the big publications like Walt Mossberg and Ed Baig, and it was like the Wall Street Journal, USA Today, New York Times, and then slowly the bloggers started coming in, and they were super late to the YouTube game. Like they didn't start inviting Marquez and Justine Nazaric until really recently,
Right.
and then I think they realized, everyone reading those newspapers and those blogs, they're buying Apple phones anyway. Let's try to reach out to the YouTube audience. And then it was like, oh, but the tech YouTubers are gonna, like, their audience knows about us already, so let's reach out to like the beauty YouTubers and the photography YouTubers and the fashion YouTubers. And everyone else is like, but you just invited me last year, and now like there's like 8 people there wearing zebra hats, and I don't know what's happening anymore. So I think like the companies are going to evolve too, because they're going to realize that maybe giving it to Ariana Grande is going to get them far more reach than giving it to a small tech YouTuber. I don't know.
Is it though? I mean, I know Ariana Grande has the reach that she has, but her crowd isn't really interested in tech all that much. So I don't know.
I don't know either. But if she says, "Hey, go buy the new iPhone," maybe they'll go buy. I don't know.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
They had this really interesting graph up where they were showing how much money a lot of companies had to spend to get their products out onto the market, and then they showed not Kardashian, the sister cousin, whatever her name is,
Chloe or whatever, I think.
No, yeah, I forget her name, but she has this huge makeup empire, and they're like, she's worth $2 billion. She's not spent a cent on marketing. It's just her Instagram account.
I can believe it. It. So let's talk about the current state of Apple, because like I said before we went live, even though we're in the middle of a global pandemic, Apple activity is practically at an all-time high. So our good friend John Prosser reported that Apple, they were having internal talks about possibly having a March event to announce the arrival of the iPhone 9. Obviously, March is come and gone. We did not have the event. He said that Apple decided to internally not have it due to the pandemic. Obviously, with all the restrictions going on, that it would have made an event pretty much impossible. But now, I think a few days ago, Prosser reported that Apple is thinking about dropping a press release or an event on April 15th and having a subsequent release on April 22nd. He also said that Apple is thinking about punking OnePlus, which I mentioned here before, by having their event on April 14th. I know I was watching one of your recent videos, Rene, and you kind of thought that Apple wouldn't take that road and try to punk OnePlus out of their date, but they've done it before. This is not unprecedented. So what do you think about the whole April 14th, April 15th possible announcement, press release of an iPhone 9, iPhone SE, whatever they want to call it?
Yeah, I mean, I could totally see them dropping it, like on Newsroom. You wake up at 8:00 a.m. and it's like, there's a new iPhone out, and there's just like a Newsroom press release, or Marquez is like uploading new video in 10 minutes. One of those things will happen.
Right.
But I just think that right now it's really competitive for attention, because everyone's just sitting at home looking for stuff to watch. And if they go the same day as OnePlus is already established, and there's people competing with, there's people going there, and maybe they would all switch gears. They'd have to like assign some people to do it. But if there's no advanced warning, they're going to be they're going to be B-roll to OnePlus. And that, I think, is something that's untenable to Apple. They wouldn't want to, like, all the Apple people would cover the new iPhone. Yeah. But like all the Android people would cover the new Android phone, of course, but the Verges and the Engadgets and, even the big networks, I don't know how much they care about OnePlus, but at the very least, it would split people's attention. And I think for Apple, they would rather everyone get OnePlus out of their system on the 14th. And then if there was no Apple news, that would continue for like 3-4 days. But if the iPhone 9 SE, whatever, Mother of Dragons, lands right the next day, everyone stops talking about OnePlus and starts, except for the Android sites, and starts talking about the new iPhone.
Okay, first of all, you said that Apple will be B-roll to OnePlus. We both know that is practically an impossibility. I mean, even if Apple did decide to go the same day of OnePlus, they would completely just destroy any press coverage OnePlus would get. Like you said, the Android people will cover it, but other than that, everybody else will be covering an Apple press conference or press release. And that's the other thing, Rene. This is the iPhone 9. This is an iPhone. This is a big deal to Apple. Would they simply just drop a newsroom press release, or would they actually hold like some type of virtual event to announce this thing?
So the only thing that makes me think like why it would compete for attention and why they would be able to do it as a press release is that it's not entirely new. It's like the MacBook Air wasn't entirely new last month, and the iPad Pro wasn't entirely new. It would have been better if they demoed it, like a LiDAR on stage would have been a really fun demo, but they could get away with it because we've already seen the new designs for both of those things. And this has the design of the iPhone 8 by all accounts. And they did an event for the iPhone SE, and that, and they were very good about, a lot of people love their smaller iPhones. And now you can have your favorite smaller iPhone with this new camera and with this processor. You can play these games. And I think it would have been note for note almost the same. Like, a lot of people love the iPhone with the home button. Well, now you have the iPhone you prefer with this new camera and this new processor. And look at how you can photograph, and look at how you can game. And it would have been good. It would have gotten a lot more attention. But we know these things. Like, there'll be little details, of course, but like, we know what it looks like. We know sort of what the capabilities are going to be. So it's not new. It's not like the iPhone 12. I think that would obliterate any other brand coming out, no question. But it would also be something I think Apple would want to tell the story about. It would be harder for them to just do a virtual release.
Okay, so going back to my other question though, if they are having an announcement event for the iPhone SE, do you think they'll just drop a press release, or do you think they'll hold some type of virtual event? Because even though it's everything, like you said, it'll pretty much be the same, this is not some MacBook Air or iPad. We're talking about the iPhone, and the iPhone is still Apple's top money maker. So would they just simply drop a press release for a new iPhone? I find that hard to believe, but what do you think?
Well, I mean, even for the iPad, they had that video of Craig showing you the iPad, which is kind of unprecedented. It's like, right. Hey, I'm Craig. Welcome to this terrarium, and I'm going to show you how the trackpad works. And maybe there'll be Jaws, like a video with Jaws going, "Hey, I'm Jaws. Welcome to the cafeteria. I'm going to show you how maybe Apple Park, whatever. I'm going to show you how the new camera works, so that we'll be able to watch that video, and that would be not to really take the place of an event, because an event is so much more than that, but sort of let Apple tell their story in the way that they like to tell it."
Yeah, I like I said, I find it hard to believe that Apple would just drop a simple press release about a new iPhone and just keep it moving. I think, like you said, at the very least, there'll be some type of video presentations about what the iPhone SE can and can't do, things like that. They're going to go extra. They always go extra. Like I said, this is the iPhone. This is not just a simple iPad or MacBook Air release. This is the iPhone. It's still their biggest money maker. They're going to want to make a big splash. They always do. I have never known Apple to simply drop a new iPhone in a press release. I don't expect them to start now.
Not even the iPhone 5C.
Not even the iPhone 5, right? And if you could have dropped a press release for anything, it could have been that. But they didn't even do it for that. So I think I got to believe they're going to make a big splash about this iPhone SE whenever it is.
It's such a weird time, though. I mean, like, because you don't want to be seen as trying to, well, Apple's going to drop it on, who's going to buy? Like, they have to very carefully manage the conversation around it, so they don't get a lot of bad press along with it.
Okay, that kind of transitioned smoothly into my next segue. So we know that Apple just released an iPad and a MacBook. Now, I can make the case that those are like essential products per se, because right now most of the world is in a work from home situation, yes. and an iPad and a MacBook Air are work from home devices. So even though you don't need them to work from home, they can kind of fit into that tier of work at home devices. So there is a market for those type of devices right now. But Rene, we're talking about an iPhone SE, a budget iPhone in the middle of a global pandemic. Do you believe Apple can get away? Actually, the better question is, do you think Apple should release an iPhone SE given the current climate that we are in?
Yeah, so I think it's almost similar. Like, the iPad Pro was seen as high end, like, and maybe the people who would buy it aren't quite as affected by this as people struggling to get by. Like, if you're going to spend $1,500 on an iPad, you probably have that $1,500 to spend on an iPad. And if you don't, you're not even thinking about it. But this, I mean, there's still people who are stuck at home and are going to want a new phone. Like, maybe it's for something like, I'm going to start making TikTok videos because I'm at home, but this old phone is a potato and I can't even get my Charlie on, or whatever they call it on TikTok. And they break their phone and it's like, I'm not even going to bother getting it repaired. And I just want something cheap. Or, their kid is ready, the kid doesn't have a phone. Just, there's a lot of reasons why someone might want a phone or a better phone. And because things are so tight, cheap, like a $400 iPhone might be ideal for them. And right now they'd be getting an iPhone 8, which is fine, but it's old tech and it won't last as long. And if you buy it now, there's not as much processor overhead. The camera's not as good. So Apple has this philosophy, and they've done it with some of the iPads, with the iPod Touch, where with the iPhone SE, where we're going to take a device that you like, it's low end, but you really like it, and we're just going to modernize it for you so that you can keep liking it for a few more years. And I think that's a much easier story to tell even now.
Right, and I completely get that, but I guess I'm just wondering, and I'm curious about like I said, the current climate that we're in. People are losing their job. People have lost their jobs. Hell, in the U.S., the unemployment rate is the highest it's ever been. Like I think the other day, there are some 6 million people in the U.S. that have filed for unemployment. We know that businesses have completely went under because of the pandemic. So I just wonder right now, is right now the time to be releasing a new smartphone? Like I said, with the iPad and the MacBook, I can kind of make a case because those are work from home devices. There's a market for those. But in the middle of a global pandemic where people are losing their jobs, businesses are going under, is there a market, Rene, right now for a new smartphone, even if it's just a budget iPhone?
The only, again, I think the budget part is what makes it work, is that like you can make the opposite case that you make for the iPad, is that people are at home and not necessarily just for work, but their whole lives are at home now, and the phone has become the most important thing in our lives. And if Apple does low key it, if they don't make a big deal out of it, if they're just, iPhone 8 is going away, iPhone 9 SE, whatever, is taking its place. And it just means that for the same money you would have spent yesterday, you can spend that same money today and get a much better iPhone for it.
Okay, you make a good point. Like you said, a lot of us are at home right now, and like you said, people have kids and families. They may need to update their phone and things like that. So maybe this iPhone SE could be potentially a perfect storm. I guess we're gonna find out sooner rather than later.
It's gonna be interesting.
So that which kind of brings up an interesting situation going on in the whole tech space. Now, I know you don't want to get into this too much, so I won't ask you to get too deep into it. But so this is kind of weird. I don't know why this is happening, but it's happening. So we'll bring it up. We'll talk about it for a quick minute here. So John Prosser, like I said earlier in the podcast, he has sources inside and outside of Apple. For the record, John Prosser and his Apple leaks have not been wrong yet in 2020. The dude has been completely on fire. So John Prosser reported that Apple could potentially announce the iPhone 9 on April 15th, with a release date of the 22nd. Now, for whatever reason, 9to5Mac came out with an article last week stating that the iPhone 9 release was imminent, like next day imminent. Now, obviously, that Friday, that was the other day. I think they came out with the article on a Thursday, talking about a possible Friday release. Obviously, that day is come and gone, and the release didn't happen. Now, John Prosser put out another tweet talking about possible Apple over-the-ear headphones at WWDC. He says that Apple could have made some Apple-branded over-ear headphones, and they're also going to come out with a pair of Apple AirPods X, which will be like the Beats X. But at the end of the tweet, John Prosser said that Apple is eventually planning to phase out the Beats brand. But then 9to5Mac almost immediately came out with an article stating that no, Apple is not planning to phase out the Beats brand. So Rene, you have been in the tech publication journalist space, but you're now an independent creator, so you're kind of a hybrid. You've been on both sides of the argument. So I'm just curious to get your thoughts on this back and forth between a tech publication and a reputable YouTuber. Like, what is happening here? Why? Actually, the better question is, why is this happening?
I mean, so this is the reason why I quit leaks. Like, I used to do leaks a long time ago. Like, I leaked a bunch of iPhone events, the iPad mini, the lightning connector, a bunch of stuff back in the day. And I used to have fun with Mark Gurman because he was doing the same thing. But it was really cordial. Like, we would text back and forth, and he'd say like, oh, you got the iPad mini. I go, you got Apple Maps. He goes, I got both. I go, I got both too, but we picked opposite ones to go first. And it was just, it was always respectful. It was always fun. And even like if someone, like I once got something wrong. I had the date for the iPhone event, but I thought it was going to be iPhone and iPad. And then John Pachowski, back then of Recode, now of BuzzFeed, like texted me and goes, I heard the iPad's going to go the month after, no disrespect, but I'm publishing a story. And like, no, that's cool. Like, everyone was super cool about it. And I hope that eventually, everyone is super cool about this too. But it was just so stressful because you get the leak, you've got to check it, coordinate it. Is the person's job safe? Are they trying to trick the person? Is that person trying to trick you? Do they have a grudge? Are you servicing that grudge? Like, are they just upset that like this person they don't like got promoted over them, or they, their version of something didn't go forward and they're super angry? And when you hear rumors, you can tell almost immediately because they're like really complainy rumors. Like, oh, we have to work from home and do this. And it's like, the people who are upset are the ones talking to you because nobody else is saying that. So like you got to vet a lot, and then it could still change. Like even if you did your job, maybe that person heard it wrong. Maybe one person heard they're canceling this. Another person heard we thought about it, but we're not. The other person heard, yeah, but I just heard Craig say this. Well, I just heard Phil say that. And you get all these echoes, and one person talks to you and says one thing, talks to someone else, says something else. Super stressful. Like it would like, I'm not sleeping properly. I'm like, I gotta not do this anymore. So I got out of that business. And bless the people who still do it, because it is really hard. They're, just to be clear, some people call them leakers. The people giving them information are leakers. They're reporters. That's what reporters do. Now, it's not like a whistleblower who's saying toxic waste is being dumped in the river. That's like one kind of leak. This is like the ending of Empire Strikes Back as Darth Vader says, "I'm your father." And you're like, damn, I wish I didn't know that. Or, oh my God, they're going to do that. So these are like spoilers. And, and that's fine. There's like every industry has this. It's weird in tech. We treat it like this odd thing, but like people are trying to leak Harry Potter all the time. Like that stuff just happens. So they're literally doing the job they're supposed to be doing. So I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I just wished everyone would be more cordial about it. Cause and John, I think, said that at the end of his last video, he's happy to work together with people on this stuff. And then you can, everyone benefits.
So I had Brian Tong on the podcast a while back, and I was having a similar conversation with him because he kind of in the position that you are in. Yeah. He used to work for CNET, but now he's an independent creator. And I was talking to him about why there's this battle that seems to exist between tech publications and actual YouTubers or independent content creators. Like, because I mean, I'm a YouTuber, so obviously I see things from the side of the YouTuber more often than not. But it just seems to me that sometimes these tech publications go out of their way to try to discredit YouTubers, and I'm just like, I don't understand it. Now, maybe that's just me because I'm biased because I'm a creator, so I see things from the side of the creator. But more often than not, from my lens, I'm looking at it like YouTubers are just putting out the content, doing what they got to do, and then sometimes you got these these tech publications that will go out of their way to discredit the YouTubers. Like I said, 9 to 5 Mac pretty much went out of their way to discredit John Prosser almost immediately after he leaked that stuff about Apple planning to phase out Beats. So Rene, I'm curious from your perspective, why do you think that why do you think this battle even exists? Why are we battling about this when we're all really trying to do the same thing?
I remember, because I was just starting out when this happened, but the newspapers did not like the bloggers at all. And for years, like you can go back and read Daring Fireball, John Gruber's website, and some other ones, and they would say Apple fan site, blah, 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 said this. And he's like, why are you saying Apple fan site? I don't call you a stodgy old newspaper. It's like there was no respect for bloggers. They thought they were untrained, unqualified, weren't journalists, didn't have the same standards, and then bloggers got real comfortable. Everyone was blogging, and Gadget and Gizmodo back in the day were always at war with each other, and TechCrunch grew and became like the pulse of the start, and blogs became really established. And then YouTubers came along. And I remember at first it's like, oh, this Marquez person on YouTube said, oh, whatever that. And I'm like, he's got 10 million like subscribers. There's like 4 people reading your article. And you were so upset when you were treated badly by mainstream media. Now you're, but I think it's like everyone fights really hard to get established. And once they're established, they're very afraid. They always think like, there's this old Zen proverb, which is like, some people think there's only so much, and if you have to take it and then you have to guard it, but really like you can grow it. And like, it's not like I have 9, you have 1, I have to take your 1. It's like, I have 9, you have 1. Can we both get to 300? That's like a way better philosophy. And that's one of the things I've tried to do is bring bloggers and YouTubers and podcasters and people who work in social media together, because they don't know each other that well. And I figure that's part of the problem. They don't know each other. They assume the worst. They treat everything like an attack. And once they get to meet each other and realize we're just all people doing the same thing, a lot of that just evaporates.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm not saying, by no means I'm not saying that all tech journalists are bad. I mean, like I said, I've met some pretty cool tech journalists since I became a creator, but I have noticed that there's this like underlying battle between actual journalists and YouTubers, and I'm just confused because at the end of the day, we are all trying to accomplish the same thing. And even though us as YouTubers and creators, we may not have a piece of paper stating that we have a journalism degree and things like that, it is very difficult to be a content creator and make a living being a content creator. I mean, like I told you guys before, you have to build an audience, but you have to build that audience by building that trust and credibility, and that takes time. That does not happen overnight. I mean, think about Marquette Brownlee. He has 10 million subscribers now, but he didn't have 10 million subscribers 10 years ago when he first started making videos, right? No.
Yeah.
He built up that trust and credibility over the past decade, which got him to 10 million, and now he's MKBHD. But I mean, I just don't understand why one side is trying to discredit the other when we all have to do a ton of work to get to where we are and maintain the status quo or maintain our status in the industry. And at the end of the day, we're all doing the same thing. So I just don't.
And again, they went through it. Like, they know how it feels. So hopefully they'll get some compassion.
Exactly. So I don't know. Hopefully at some point this battle will die, but I don't know, man. I don't know. So I have talked about this in videos lately. I know my dude Travis MCP just did a video talking about it, but we need to talk about the iPhone 12 in 2020. And the key thing that I just said is in 2020. Now, as I told you guys before, we are in the middle of a global pandemic. Jobs are being lost. Companies are going under. Even when we get on the other side of the pandemic, things will not be the same. Things will never be the same again. There will be a new normal. We will have a long road to recovery even after the pandemic is over. So, Rene, my question to you is, given what we are currently facing and even the aftermath once we get past this, do you think it's wise for Apple to release an iPhone 12 in 2020, given the fact that it's probably going to be $1,000+, given the fact that people are going to be out of jobs or trying to find jobs, given the fact that businesses have gone under or they're going to be trying to recover? If they didn't go under, they're going to be in the red so bad they're going to need time to recover, things like that. And once we get on the other side of the pandemic, I am pretty sure I will stake my creator reputation to tell you that $1,000 smartphone will not be at the top of people's priority list once we get past this. So, Rene, again, do you think it's wise of Apple to try and release the iPhone 12 here in 2020?
I think honestly, it's way too early to really think about it, because we have absolutely no idea what's happening. Their Apple stores are still closed. Even when they open, Apple stores were literally designed to do the opposite thing from what we're going to need to do. Like, there's no, like, they were designed to be social. They were designed to be meeting places. They were designed for you to touch everything. Like, that's going to have to all be rethought. And a lot of this may not be under Apple's control. Like, they still have to produce and sell these things. And that is a non-trivial undertaking. Like I've said before, it's a miracle that Windows boots up every day on a billion different kinds of devices. It's a miracle that every single one of those components for the iPhone is almost always ready on time. Like a month here, sometimes a month there. But it's like shooting arrows into other arrows, and all of those arrows have to hit the target. It is very, very hard. And it's not just Apple. Like, Samsung's gonna have to ask themselves the same question about the Galaxy Note. Yep. OnePlus is releasing the Pro now, but are they going to release the T versions later? Huawei, I mean, it's a very different market, but any big sort of consumer electronic purchase is going to have to make this decision. I think if it was not for this, Samsung took a lot of pressure off Apple, because their latest Galaxy phones were pricey and the foldables were pricey. So even if it's not a direct comparison, I think people are getting more used to the idea of super premium phones. And I think normally 5G tends to increase the price of a phone. Like, Apple might not pass that through to consumers, especially not now. But I think normally most of the phones have been like $100 more expensive, just because they have those funny 5G modems in them. And they're going to have to figure out all of this. If nothing changes, they may not have a choice. Like, there's just, how are you going to sell that phone? Is that going to be like a press release? If we go into a, like, I forget what they call it, a breathing period, but then have to re-shelter at home. If I was Apple right now, I would have like the most penciled in plans, and go ahead with, like, get everything up to the point of manufacturing, because you're going to have to keep putting out stuff eventually. And then figure out, and the Apple's lucky because they don't pre-announce. They don't need to, like, Microsoft's the Duo just got pushed back, right? Like, until next year.
Right.
Apple does not announce phones a year early. So everyone assumes it's coming, but I think we'll start to hear more rumors around August, September about what they're going to do.
And you just highlight something about things getting back up to production and things like that. We know that the production of the iPhone 12 has been kind of delayed because, I mean, the factories over at Foxconn were closed for about a month or so. So we know that the iPhone 12 is behind on production, and it probably won't be released on time, even if it does get released. The earliest that we're probably looking at this year for an iPhone 12 release is October, November, maybe even December. So again, like you said, and probably maybe it's too early to tell, but like you said, we're in a similar situation. Like even in the next 3 or 4 months, Apple might have to consider maybe holding it off until 2021, maybe.
And what about the Galaxy Fold 2? I mean, there's a lot of super premium devices that are in the pipeline, and everyone's going to have to make their own decisions about that. And also multiple markets. Like if China's fully recovered, Apple sells a bunch. It's like their third, sometimes second biggest market. Would they release in some countries and not others? Would they hold everybody back? What do they do for the value of the shares for the shareholders? Most years, if Apple did not make an iPhone release, that would be catastrophic in terms of what the repercussions would be. But this year, I don't think anybody is expecting anything normal. So the rules are kind of not even changed. The rules are kind of unwritten.
Right, because if, like you said, if even if Apple does go ahead and release an iPhone 12 this year, it will probably drastically underperform, according to what they normally expect to sell and things like that. So,
do people get a ton of government bailout and suddenly the restrictions are lifted and everyone's out twirling their undies over their head going, woo, I'm buying an iPhone and like buying new car? Like, is there a huge? I don't think there will be, but we've never seen any modeling for anything like this.
Yeah,
does everyone get $1,000 from the government or $2,000 from the government and decide to buy it to like? Because I remember, I forget what it was, but it was the last economic bailout, and there was a tax refund. And they're interviewing a bunch of people, and they're like, "Did you pay down debt? Did you?" Like, no, I bought an Xbox and a big screen TV. I'm like, you're gonna be back here again next month. So like, people are unpredictable.
Yeah, but like I said, this like we keep saying, this is an event unlike any we have experienced in our lifetime. People have lost their jobs and things like that. Businesses are gone under. So I think a lot of people are in a bad way right now. A lot of people can't even work right now, and they're just trying to figure out where they're going to get food and put food on the table and things like that. So I find it hard to believe that even if they got some type of bill like that, a phone, especially a $1,000 phone, would be at the top of that priority list when they can't even make their next month rent and things like that. So this is going to be an interesting year. We don't, like Rene said, we don't really know what's going to happen later on in the year. I guess we just got to play it by ear and see what happens. But in relation to the iPhone 12, Rene, regardless of if it comes this year or not, what do you think we can expect to come along with the new iPhone 12? We know that 5G is pretty much a given at this point, but what else do you think will come along with the new iPhone this year or next year, whenever?
Yeah, so I think the big feature, like every year, the camera is a big feature just because that's one of the things that sells phones. And we've seen already with the iPad Pro that there's going to be LiDAR built in, but with the iPad Pro, we didn't really see what it was for, especially not with first-party Apple apps. So I think that'll be a huge part of the story is what can that rear depth scanner really do? And to make something compelling, like what's going to make, what about it is going to make a bunch of people want it and think it's valuable and use it? I think that's like the huge question there. And then there'll be like new silicon, like there's, almost every year new silicon, and there'll be a few other features here and there, but I think that's going to be the biggest part of the story. And hopefully the battery life to go along with it, because 5G is usually a hit when it comes to power consumption.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you have it, you got to pretty much be sitting on a tower outside Viper's house to get 5G. And
not Viper's house. Maybe Viper's work, but not Viper's house.
Viper's work, yeah.
Viper's work. So there's a lot of talk this year about 120 hertz refresh rates. Do you think that's something that we can see with the iPhone 12?
I think it's going to depend. Like, Samsung did it in a way that's I don't think Apple would. Like, and ironically, OnePlus I think did a better job with it.
Yeah.
Even the Google Pixel, like I have mine here, and I still use it all the time, and it goes in and out. Like in order to prevent the pulse width modulation, it'll drop back to 60 hertz, and that it's just weird. And I don't think Apple would ever do it that way. So if Apple could do rock solid 120 frames per second like they do on LED screens with ProMotion, I think for sure they'll do it. If they look at it and they go, no, this is junk, we're not going to ship it like this, then I think they'll hold off a year. And I think it'll matter to nerds. Like, I think nerds will be super upset because we really want it, but it'll be like the iPhone 11 and iPhone 10R display where like everyone's non-nerdy friend will go, what are you talking about?
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I believe that Apple will definitely not release it half-baked. If they can't get it to the optimum Apple customer experience, we won't see it this year, because we know that Apple, they love to take their time as it relates to adopting new technology. So they will not rush into a 120 hertz refresh rate display if they can optimize it for maximum customer satisfaction on iPhone.
Yeah, I mean they talk about it with the iPad still, but they don't like it's not like braggadociously. Like I don't think they think it's a huge selling point. I think they think it's a premium. So like the iPad Pro should be the iPad Premium kind of, and the iPhone Pro should be the iPhone Premium, and it is a premium feature. It's a differentiator, and if they can lock it down, like Apple never made you manage your own color profiles. I remember that with Samsung phones. Like, oh, I'm looking at a photograph. Let me switch color profile. Oh, I'm doing like they don't think that you should have to do that, and they're not going to think that you should have to manage display refresh rate. So if there's anything about I got to choose 1080p versus 120 hertz, my math hurts. Like I don't think we'll see any of that.
Yeah. So all right, so let's go back a little bit because we know that I think a couple of weeks ago, Apple just released the new iPad Pro 2020 and they released the new MacBook Air 2020. As I keep saying in the podcast, I sound like a broken record, but we are currently right now in the middle of a global pandemic. People are losing jobs, businesses are going under. So Rene, Apple knows what's going on across the globe, but yet they still released an iPad and a MacBook Air in the middle of this current climate. Why did they do that?
It's like a joke that they're damned if they do and they damned if they don't, especially I think with the Mac, because they left it lying there for so long. Like the MacBook Air was not refreshed for so long and the Mac Mini was not refreshed for so long. And that got a very minor boost this time too. And the thing is when someone comes to buy something, they want them to have the most recent version. Like they don't expect anyone to upgrade year over year. It's not like I bought the 2018 model, the 2021, is it worth it? Nobody tech bloggers and YouTubers think that way. Normal people are like, I'll keep this 5 years, and when it starts to break, I'll go look for whatever's new. And they want that person when they buy the new thing to get the best thing that they can, something that'll last them for years. And 18 months, was a pretty long time in iPad years, and it's not the biggest update, but it's a slight update, and means you get a better quality thing for the same amount of money. Same thing with the iPhone 9/SE. Same thing with the MacBook Air. It had deficiencies, like there were problems with the version that was released in 2018, and this fixes a lot of those problems. So for the same money you paid yesterday, you're getting a much better version today. And it's like, I don't even know if they should make any big deal. I guess like some big deal is helpful because it sells more units, but it really is just what you bought yesterday, you're buying today, and you're getting a better version of it.
So basically, I guess to summarize that up, you were just saying that basically it's business as usual for Apple, more or less.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's good. I think they should. Some people get upset because they're like, I just bought this. How dare you put out a better version? But that's always going to happen. Yeah. I think it's worse when they don't refresh. Like if I had my druthers, anytime there was a new chip, they would put that new chip in and just update everything. Like Apple does not make that many products. Every product should always be absolutely up to date.
Yeah, and I think we know that all these companies have a product roadmap, a product pipeline that they try to adhere to. So even though we are in the middle of a global pandemic, a company can't stray too much from their product pipeline because you can't have too many product releases stacking on top of each other, because that's not going to be good for anybody. So even though it might not be the most ideal situation to release a new product in, you got to do what you got to do as a company. You just got to take the hit and go from there.
And there are people who need, people. It's not people are buying less, but there are people who still need. And like if you need a new phone and your choice is like, these are all so old, that's not great. But if your choice is, they didn't have to release a new phone, but I'm glad they did because I'm buying one, or I was gonna buy an Air, but I was waiting for this, or I need a computer, and it's awkward, but I think it's ultimately for the best.
Yeah, a company has to keep doing what they got to do, no doubt. So
again, OnePlus is having their event; they're not stopping. I think these companies have to keep going.
Yeah, a business has to run. They're still running their businesses, and they still have to run them as they see fit. So I want to go back to the tweet that John made about Apple phasing out Beats. I talked to you about the argument between bloggers and tech YouTubers, but we really didn't discuss the context of the actual tweet. So John Prosser tweeted that Apple is planning to phase out Beats in the long run. Now, when Apple first acquired Beats 6 years ago, I kind of figured that that's what would happen. But for the past 6 years, Apple has been allowing Beats to pretty much operate as an independent entity, still selling headphones under the Beats brand. So, Rene, do you think that Apple will finally begin to phase out Beats, or what do you think is going on here?
I think there's probably discussions about that every year, but and Apple's an interesting company because they are savage, or savage is the wrong word because I don't think that's emotional.
Oh, no. Savage is the right word.
But they will just cut stuff. But then FileMaker, they've had FileMaker as a subsidiary for 40 years or 50 or 30 years or 20 years or something. There's a little database company sitting there making a little database and owned by Apple. And they've never subsumed it. They've never it's just sitting there. I think Beats is on the edge for them because there are things Beats does that Apple would never do, like the Mickey Mouse headphones or the every Olympic team headphones. They have it sort of protects Apple. It's like how Disney would have Castle Rock and they would do the edgier movies without the Disney name on them, because there's just some things you can't do if you're Disney. And I think Beats gave Apple that space to make an experiment with these different products and test them out as they were ramping up Apple Audio, because Apple Audio is fairly recent. Like it's like 7 years old, maybe.
Right.
And now they are putting out AirPods and AirPods Pro, and they'll put out whatever Studio Pods ends up being called and the other stuff. And then we'll see, like they will, again, it reminds me of the iPhone 5C. It's like the more colorful, more poppy version. But at a certain point, is it worth it? And I think it's only going to matter based on sales. Like if Apple stuff really takes off, and AirPods really have, like the market for AirPods is enormous, then I think there's less need for Beats. It would be like, oh, we think it's cute to keep it around. And just to be clear, like, I don't think anybody's career, like there's probably some redundancy there, but I think like the Beats PR people are Apple PR people now. Like there's the Beats team is working out of the Apple lab. Like they have different product assignments, but so does the Mac team versus the iPhone team. Like it's those are like still Apple people now. So I don't think anyone's being mean to anybody by talking about it. It's just one of those things that eventually they'll have to decide if Beats is earning its keep, if it's making enough money to go on, and if it's controlling a market that they want to control. And I think Apple tends towards minimalism, as we can see by the fact that I can't buy an Apple router anymore.
Yeah, my thought was that Apple kind of kept allowing Beats to operate under the Beats brand because Beats is an established brand. I mean, Beats has been around for over a decade. It's kind of a luxury brand. You see all the top athletes, celebrity endorsing Beats headphones. So it was kind of to Apple's advantage not to immediately like eliminate Beats, because Beats still had that household brand recognition. But like you said, the AirPods brand had kind of grown leaps and bounds since the AirPods were introduced 4 years ago. And we know that the AirPods are the number one wireless Bluetooth headphones in the entire world. So the AirPods brand is growing year over year, more or less. I think I heard you or somebody else say that I think last year the AirPods accounted for $12 billion in revenue for Apple. So we know that the AirPods is on the up and up. So I think you make a good point. The longevity of Beats will be directly related to if Beats still make good sales for Apple, because Apple doesn't need the Beats brand. Let's be honest. Like Apple is its own brand recognition. They don't need the Beats brand to.
And maybe they weren't sure about that. Like maybe they thought that AirPods would appeal to a totally different kind of customer than Beats. Like because Beats has a huge following, right? And Apple was not known for their headphones. They could have come out and maybe it would have been like the 3% of people who love their iPhones a lot would buy the AirPods, and everyone else would buy Beats. But now like the AirPods are a meme. Like so I don't think it's even close.
It's funny. I remember when the AirPods first came out in 2016 and we all made fun of how they look, and now you can't go anywhere. You can't even go a block without seeing a pair of AirPods in somebody's ear. Funny how that changes.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it was weird because I got one of the review units right away before they delayed them. And they're just like, well, keep them, just don't write anything about them. And I was in Cupertino for the event. So I saw people, there's one thing that happens is after an event, there's an email that goes out that withdraws the carry restrictions. And then people can start using their new phones and start, they can start like showing, they don't have to hide it anymore, basically. So all of a sudden there was like people with AirPods in and people with the new phones in their hands. And it seemed like that was just part of the world. And then you get home, people are making fun of them. You're like, but everyone, they're not all wearing them. They look super goofy to you guys, don't they? Oh, reality distortion fields are hard.
Oh, yeah. But like I said, now it's 2020. And before we all got locked in place, you couldn't go in any urban metro area without seeing a pair of AirPods on every other block. It's like they're literally everywhere. So,
and now if you have the pros, like you look back and the old ones are like they need a haircut, like they're so long. What are you doing?
Right. And I love when I talk about AirPods and I say how the AirPods are the number one wireless Bluetooth headphones in the world. And my man audio guru El Jefe always give me a side eye, but he knows like audiophiles. They're not a big fan of the AirPods because the sound quality isn't up to the level of other earbuds. But as I keep saying, it's about more than sound quality. And like Rene, you said in the past, the AirPods have so much computing going on inside of them besides the whole audio thing that it's just a lot going on with that.
Yeah, it's a huge potential. Like I don't think Apple's nailed it yet, but I think they have all the pieces in place. Like they have a really good team in their building. They've got a lot of really legendary people there now. And they have one of the biggest facilities I think anybody has ever seen. So it's just a matter of time before they. It's kind of a little bit frustrating that they don't make the best thing in the world right away. But hopefully, like a year or two, they'll just keep getting better and better and better.
Whoa! Time out! Did you just say that you don't think Apple has nailed the AirPods yet? I mean, damn! How do you make perfect better? How do you do that?
No, like because like there's not like they're still divisive. So one of the things about Apple is that they don't make enough stuff that they can really have divisive products. Like there are people who love the AirPods, and people are like, yeah, the sound, and still like there's some people like, oh, like the original ones, the fit is not great in my ear. And some people say, well, just put these same things like the AirPods Pro, and I'll be like, no, don't. That hurts my ear. And with some headphone companies, it doesn't matter because they make 82 different kinds of headphones, where Apple really only makes two, like the AirPod. Like they have the one that has the EarPod end on it, and they have the ones that have the little things on it. And I think that there's still room for them. Maybe now it's like 80% of people, it's fine, but like that's still 20% of people. It's a lot of people. So I always want them to do better. Like, and I want them to make El Jefe happy as much as they make you happy, as much as they make me happy. Like I want them to get to a point where these products are maybe not everyone has them as number one, but like almost everyone has them as either one or two, maybe three. And I don't think that's the case right now.
All right. So as it relates to AirPod Pro, I like the sound quality. I like the features and things like that, but the fit by no means is perfect for me with AirPod Pro.
Yeah.
If I'm active or if I'm doing something that relates to working out or something like that, they do have a tendency to move around in my ear. It's very annoying. How are they working out for you? Have you gotten the AirPod Pro to fit like when you're doing active stuff, or are you having an issue that I'm having like them moving around and things?
So I have these. I did a lot of Brazilian jiu-jitsu, so my ears are all mangled. And regular AirPods, the left one will kind of stay in, the right one will not at all. With these, the left one will mostly stay in, and the right one will kind of stay in. So it's better. And I don't know if it involves like changing the material for the tip, because I know some people say that memory foam is better. So it's all those little tweaks. Like this one, I have to push this back in like every 5 minutes. Maybe the other ones are every 2 minutes. So it's getting there. It's getting there, but I think it's going to take a little while.
Yeah, and like you said, Apple has some of the top people in the audio field, especially with their acquisition of Beats working on their audio equipment. So
yeah,
they will definitely get there. Yo, Jeff, I got to make with you, Jeff. I got to make with you. It's all love, baby. It's all love.
Yeah, Jeff's saying like the speakers are really good on the Mac Pro, and they really are.
Oh God, yes. Oh my God, like it's almost like a little mini stereo system inside of this MacBook Pro 16-inch. The speakers are excellent, man.
It's like someone flattened a HomePod and stuck it in. I watched the trailer the other day, and it was like wow, and like the sound is all going on. Like what? That was my computer.
Yeah, I mean, you don't really like. It's funny because when you are listening to like the speakers of a laptop, you don't expect that type of sound quality. But this MacBook Pro 16-inch, holy Lord, it's next level.
Zach says I have Montreal ears, but he's not sure what that means. I guess it means like a hockey fight over a poutine. I'm not positive.
Who knows, man? Who knows? So before we get you out of Rene, I'm curious to get your thoughts on the tech space post COVID-19. Like we know that once we get past this, things will never be how they were before this all started. So how do you think the tech industry will be forever changed once we do get past this? Because obviously things will need to change.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good question. I think like the tech has such an overlap with a lot of other industries. Like we would travel a lot and do a lot of in-person meetings, and maybe not all of those were necessary, either like in terms of time and effort or in terms of environment. And we were rethinking that, and we're all getting much more used to telecommuting and holding these teleconferences. And launch events they were huge, and they cost companies millions of dollars. And maybe they're not as necessary or as necessary as often. Or maybe there can be like, things that are tangential. What like CES? How many people got infected at CES and didn't even know it this year because no one was identifying what COVID-19 was? Do we really need those ginormous shows? Like, I love seeing everybody. I love meeting up with everybody. I wish there was an excuse to do it all the time, but I think we're going to rethink all of our previous assumptions.
Yeah, and it's tough because me being a fairly new creator, I was looking forward to the day I could get to go to the tech events and meet people like you and El Jefe and Zach and things like that. But man,
we're gonna make our own events when it's safe. We'll make our own events.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do something because it's not looking too good right now.
2021,
right? It's not looking too good right now. But hopefully we can get some sense of normalcy back when this is all over with, man. But Rene, thank you for joining me tonight, man. Always a pleasure talking to you, man.
Always love it so much. Thank you so much. And again, thank you for all you do for the community, because like you bring so many people, so many different people on, you give them a platform and you talk to them and you ask such interesting questions. And it's a huge benefit to the community.
Yeah, I love being able to talk to like-minded people about technology, man. I'm a big tech head. You're a tech head. Most of the people that are watching this live, they're big tech heads. So it's nice to bring all of us together to have a talk about tech and have a civil discussion about tech.
Yeah.
Because as I alluded to earlier in the podcast, it's not always civil in these parts, but we do the best we can. But thank you guys for watching live. If you're watching here on YouTube, thank you. If you guys super chatted, thank you very much. Shout out to my man LeBaron Burton. I didn't get a chance to acknowledge him earlier, but I got the PayPal, bro. So thank you for the donation, LeBaron. Appreciate you always, man. If you guys have not checked out his popcorn shop, go check out doingtheworldofflavor.com. Get you some top of the line gourmet popcorn, because LeBaron is legit big supporter of the tech community. So shout out to my man LeBaron Burton, owner of Popcorn World. For those of you all listening on audio only, thank you for listening to the podcast tonight. Definitely appreciate you guys listening to me each and every week. Like I said earlier, if you want to support the podcast, there will be links in the show notes for you to do that. So thank you very much. Definitely appreciate it. Shout out to my man Janosis for putting Rene's channel in the chat. This is the new channel that Rene just started up. So if you guys are not subscribed, you need to click that link and go get subscribed. Get some of the best Apple content out there. And like we said earlier, Rene's going to expand past Apple content as well. So, I mean, we got big things on the horizon for my man, Rene Ritchie. So definitely go check him out. And there's the website for LeBaron and Doing the World of Flavor. So definitely go check that out if you're watching live on the YouTube. This has been VypDrive episode 71. I will be back next week with another podcast. But until the next time, people, this your boy Viper, the man about tech. You know where to find me. So come back for more.